And welcome back to the Hot Lap. Pretty much today's headlines. Well, it's all about Mercedes. We're thinking here. Mercedes have been told by a certain F1 celebrity that they're going to need a big 2024. Oh, it's going to get really, really interesting. I completely agree. Lewis is talking on his Mercedes hopes. He seems quite optimistic now, particularly after a very lackluster Abu Dhabi, yeah, a few weeks ago. And Wolf is quite optimistic for 2024. So what do you guys think? Does this need to be a massive year for Mercedes, or is it win or bust, or something or bust, or better or bust for Mercedes next year in 2024? Let's get into the first headline here, and it says Mercedes clearly not quite the force they were as big year loomed. This is on planetf1.com by Thomas Meyer. And it says that Brundle believes it's evident that the Mercedes F1 team is not at the performance level they were when they were winning pretty much everything imaginable, including titles. And it goes on to say that Mercedes have finished second in this year's 2023 Constructors' Championship, or last is, if you're listening to it, in about just over a week. But it's been a tough year for the Brackley-based squad as they went through their first winless season since 2011. Neither George Russell or Hamilton were able to join the battle with Max's Red Bull. I don't think anyone was. There were close opportunities in Singapore and the United States, with Hamilton finishing second, albeit with an illegal car. And ultimately, the win was out of reach for both drivers. And Brundle is saying that moving jigsaw pieces have seen Mercedes fall away. And it says, with Mercedes winning every title possible between 2014 and 2020, and wrapping up the Constructors' Championship in 2021, and whether you like it or not, potentially a Drivers' Championship contentious, but there we go. But Verstappen ended up taking that at that year. But Mercedes, let's be fair, they were good enough to win both titles in 2021, and the fall coincides with the change of regulations from 2021 to 2022 with that ground effect cars. And Brundle believes it's no coincidence, as neither the W13 or W14 have proven capable of title glory. And you could even make an argument, if you want to be the ultimate pessimist, of the W13. Yes, it did win in Brazil. It was a 1-2. The but was though, was it more that Mercedes had a really, really good car, really, really solid setup, or was it that Red Bull their setup just kind of fell off a cliff, and due to the fact it was a sprint weekend, they were just kind of lost, kind of like a Singapore? Was it Red Bull's mess up more, in hindsight, more than Mercedes really, really gunning getting that victory? But Brundle says, I think there's no doubt about it. Mercedes quite clearly are not the force they were, he wrote in his special end of the year Sky column, because they didn't get the 2022 car right and they didn't fix it for 2023. They continue with those zero pods design, which, as we know, greatly upset a certain Lewis Hamilton. And Brundle said there's been a lot of personal movement because they're obviously very attractive people from the era of total domination that they had. Excuse me. So you see it in other sports where a group of people that seemingly just absolutely couldn't lose. Think Manchester United from the 90s, and it's really odd. And all it needs is a couple of pieces of the jigsaw to go away, changing one way or the other. Now, Wolf has been open about the fact that Mercedes have headed in that wrong direction with their car concept in 2022 and early 23. But shoots of recovery, he says, have been visible since turning away from that direction. As we know, James Allison, the architect of the most successful Mercedes offerings, is back in the role of technical director and overseeing the development for the 24 car, with a new technical direction of 24 openly being worked on. Now, Brundle said it's going to be interesting to see whether these pieces, he likes his jigsaw analogies, but these pieces of the jigsaw are back in place for next season. It's a mighty team, he said, but they've got to align their stars again, and 2024 is going to be a big year for Mercedes. One of the other reasons it's going to be a big year for all teams, in particular Mercedes, is because how their car goes in 2024, I think, is going to be it's going to have a massive say, and it's going to have a massive measure on how their car goes in 2025. Why? Because in 2025, they are going to be focusing a lot of those new rules for 2026. So I imagine a lot of F1 teams are just going to have evolutions of the 24 car, and if Mercedes can get their 24 car right, it's looking good for 25. If they can't, and we have another year like 22 and 23, I think they're going to really, really struggle. However, if you're a Mercedes fan, I think there is some hope if we look, for example, with Lewis Hamilton here, this is from the Sun. Hamilton has promised Mercedes will be a different animal next year. The 7-time champion has also made a bold prediction for 24. And as we know, Mercedes are facing this massive off-season bid to challenge Red Bull's dominance. So when you think about it, they not only have to catch them up, make up the difference as it was last year, because there was a fairly sizable difference. They're going to have to go above and beyond and actually catch Red Bull, because no doubt Red Bull are going to be making another massive surge in pace. Maybe not as big, for example, from 2022 and 2023 as Christian Horner's come out and said. However, I think it's going to be significant. And as we know, Red Bull, it says here, won all. I guess we're all tired of hearing it, unless you're a Red Bull fan. They won all but one of those races, in 2023, 22 races. Hamilton finished behind the Red Bull duo in third. He was challenging Perez, but that's because Perez was an absolutely shocking number 2. Realistically, he shouldn't have had a chance. But speaking at the end of the season prize gala, he said it's always the exciting time of the year because I've seen the car in the wind tunnel. I always go by the wind tunnel when I go to the factory, and to see it evolving in whichever direction it ends up going. As soon as I was leaving again, I popped in just to see where we were, and when I come back, it'll be again a different animal. But I have full faith in everyone that's working on it, and hopeful that we'll be in a much more competitive position next year. Hamilton was obviously presented with that award for third place. So, but it's not only Hamilton that's kind of upbeat. It's also Toto Wolff as well. Now, the thing is, Mercedes weren't particularly vocal about how good their car was or how good they're going to be in the year of 2014 to kind of like 2021. But they've been a lot more upbeat in the media, and a lot of people are saying maybe you should just do your talking on the track. But I kind of get it. This is from GPFans.com by Tyler Rowlandson. Now, it says Mercedes boss Toto Wolff said he is super excited for that first race in Bahrain. Now, the Silver Arrows, as we know, winners campaign last year, first time since 2011. I keep on drumming it in, but it says Wolff is optimistic about the chances of closing that gap to Red Bull. Now, speaking at the end of the season, questions and answers with fans, he explained what challenges is ahead for next season. There's the failed Mercedes 20. Well, I don't really think it's a failure car, because let's be honest, they finished second in that Constructors' Championship. Lewis nearly got Perez for second in the car allowed him. With the car being good enough and Perez's poor performances, it may have happened. But it's Wolff has said it's to set the expectations right, because we have a huge mountain to climb. There's a team that is so successful, and we have a big gap to close, he told Sky News. At the same time, he said, I believe we've taken some proactive steps to close the gap. Is it going to be good enough? I don't know. So he's been quite honest there. But we're going to see it in testing, and then in the first race in Bahrain. I'm super excited. I'd like to start going now. It's the stopwatch that's going to tell us what job we've done. Now, as you know, Mercedes did finish second, but only just against Ferrari. It all came down to the last few laps, and Hamilton and George Russell have been tied down to contracts until the end of 2025. Wolff is confident they can return to contention next season, and there's an argument really that Mercedes do have the strongest driver lineup. Yes, McLaren would say differently. I guess Christian Horner would, but he's got Max Verstappen, and I think that's it, really. You could make a case for Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. However, Piastri's, was a rookie last year. Absolutely, really, really solid. Lando Norris is the man that blows his big chances. He's the Tim Henman at the moment of tennis, but he has the talent, I think we can all agree, that he, given the right circumstances, he definitely has the talent, the speed to be a race winner and a potential world champion. He just needs to prove it, I think, to himself. So, Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc, I think, are the second best driver lineup. The best driver lineup in terms of talent and raw speed together is still Hamilton and Russell going into that 2024 season. So, a massive year for Mercedes, but I do feel there is genuine hope. If you do, great. Let us know in the comments. But however you feel, like, subscribe. That would make us really, really happy here at the Hot Lap. It's been absolutely amazing since the summer. Your subscribers, your comments, your likes, your liking the shorts, absolutely fantastic. Keep going. Thank you very much. We'll speak to you soon.